Hi everyone, welcome to Curious Minds Academy. In the last few sessions, we have covered Section F Professional Ethics. And as you know, Section F Professional Ethics can be divided into three chapters. Chapter 1 name was Business Ethics and Chapter 2 was Ethics for Management Accountants and Chapter 3 was Ethics for Organization. In this session, we will be having a revision session of Business Ethics, that is Chapter 1. So without wasting any time, let's get into the business ethics revision. The first concept that we have discussed in business ethics is what do you mean by ethics? Ethics is a field of study that determines whether an action is ethical or not, appropriate or not, or acceptable or not. So ethics is a field of study that determines whether an action or decision is ethical or not, acceptable or not, or appropriate or not. And after discussing ethics, we then move on to business ethics. And what do you mean by business ethics? When the same ethics is applied in an organization or in a business environment, that is called business ethics. And there comes a question, and how do we employ this business ethics in an organization, or how can we determine if an activity that happened within an organization is whether it is ethical or not? The answer is simple. The employees or anyone who find it confusing in an organization as to whether his activity is ethical or not should refer to the organization's code of conduct. And what do you mean by code of conduct? Code of conduct is simply a document that contains the do's and don'ts of what all activities that can be done in an organization. So if any employee find it confusing as to whether his activity is ethical or not, that employee should go and check the organization's code of conduct. And if the organization's code of conduct is silent, then what the employee should do? The employee should apply his own morality or his own virtue scales to that situation. And there comes another question. What do you mean by morality and what do you mean by virtue? Morality simply refers to the application of ethical principles, whereas virtue refers to the characteristics of an individual. So morality is the application of ethical principles and virtue refers to the characteristics of individual. And if I say one is kind, one is patient, that refers to the qualities that are within him, and those qualities, those characteristics that are within him are called virtue. And after discussing morality and virtue, there comes the moral philosophies part. And in total, how many moral philosophies are there? We have discussed 6 moral philosophies. And what are the 6 moral philosophies? The first one is teleology, the second is deontology, third was virtue ethics, fourth was relativism, fifth was utilitarianism, and the sixth one and the last one was justice. Now let's discuss what each means. The first one is teleology. Teleology is the branch of philosophy that advocates that if the end result is good, if the final result is good, then the action or decision that led to that result is ethical. That action or decision which yielded good result is ethical. And if the end result is bad, if the final result is bad, then the action or decision which has been taken is unethical. So as you can see, this teleology is all dependent on the final result as opposed to deontology. Now let's discuss deontology. Deontology is not concerned about the final result. An action or decision can be considered ethical only if it is right action or right decision. If the action or decision is not right, is wrong within itself, then it cannot be considered as an ethical action or ethical decision. Now let's take an example for what teleology and deontology mean. Teleology, telling a lie. If it brings happiness to another person, then telling a lie is ethical as per teleology. And when it comes to deontology, telling a lie is an action that is wrong. So in deontology, telling a lie is unethical. So we can say that teleology and deontology are exactly the opposite, because teleology considers the final result and deontology doesn't consider the final result. It only considers the action or decision. So after deontology, we then move on to virtue ethics. What a virtuous person would have done in the same situation. If I also have done the same action or same decision, then my action can be considered ethical. And after virtue ethics, there comes Relativism. What is ethical to me may not be ethical to you. What is ethical in one culture may not be ethical in another. What is ethical in one country may not be ethical in another. So relativism is the moral philosophy that denies the existence of moral universal principle. It cannot be said that one action is right in the entire universe. It cannot be said that one action is wrong in the entire universe. It varies from person to person. It is completely relative, and that's how it got its name, relativism. And remember the example that I have told. There are some vegetarians who thinks that eating chicken is an unethical activity, but non-vegetarians are pretty okay with it. For vegetarians it is an unethical activity, and for non-vegetarians it is purely ethical. So it varies from group to group, person to person, or from culture to culture. And after relativism we have discussed utilitarianism. What do utilitarianism mean? If my action or my decision brings the greatest good to the greatest number of people, then that action or decision can be considered ethical. And after utilitarianism we then discuss the last one, justice. Justice means ensuring fairness in everything, ensuring fairness to everyone. And justice can be divided into social justice, distributive justice, restorative justice, and retributive justice. Social justice means ensuring equal political opportunities, equal educational opportunities, etc. to everyone. And after social justice there comes distributive justice. Assets should be allocated equally within the society. And after distributive justice there comes retributive justice. If somebody has committed any wrong or any mistake, then he shall be punished accordingly, and that's what retributive justice mean. And after retributive justice there comes restorative justice. If somebody has suffered some loss, then the others should make good the loss, and any action or decision in that kind can be considered ethical. So this is what the moral philosophies are. Again revising for you, there are 6 moral philosophies: teleology, deontology, then comes virtue ethics, relativism, utilitarianism, and justice. So these are the concepts that we have discussed in the business ethics chapter. I want you to have this much clarity of concept. Just close your eyes and revise whatever we have learned in the business ethics in the same way if possible, in the same speed if possible. The techniques that we are using here is the mind mapping technique. You just close your eyes and remember what all you have learned in the chapter business ethics, and you will get the concepts in a structured way, in an organized way. So whenever you are revising any chapter, use this mind mapping technique without using any book, without using any pen. You just close your eyes and let the concepts flow through you flawlessly in an organized way. And this will be helpful in the examination as well, because you would have done the revision multiple times if you remember it through the concept of mind mapping, and it will help you in your examination clearly. So this is what I want you to do in the same way possible, in the same time if possible. If you can remember these concepts through the mind mapping technique, then it will be so beneficial for you. So I urge you to do this way. And that's all from this session. In this session we have revised the business ethics completely. In the next revision session we will be discussing, or we will be revising, the ethics for management accountants using the same mind mapping techniques. And that's it from this session. Let's meet in the next session. Happy learning. Thank you.